Well, welcome everyone to another Mindful Monday where we provide resources, education, connection, collaborations to support you on your wellness journey. And whoops, here we go. Technical difficulties. All right. Anyway, I would like to start by thanking our sponsors, of course, Kathryn Sandford, White Sands Premier Travel, Vibe, and BAM Metrics for making this episode possible. So if you are a mid-career woman feeling overlooked or uncertain about how to express your true value in today's fast-paced work environment, then you are in the right place because we are here today to talk about going from invisible to in demand with Kathryn Sandford. Kathryn has transformed, her own journey of reinvention into a beacon of hope for others. And with her compassionate yet direct approach, she empowers women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s to break free from outdated narratives and step into the spotlight they deserve. So please help me welcome Kathryn Sandford. Kathryn, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me. It's very excited. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. So you had your own journey of reinvention before stepping into this space. Can you share with us a little bit about your journey?
I've had a continuous journey of reinvention, actually, and I think that that's part of what our lives are all about, is that we're continuously reconsidering what to do next. Some of us don't do anything, and others are forced into it. And so for me, my first kind of reinvention was when I left teaching. And that was a situation that I was forced in a sense of discontent. I was unhappy teaching. I loved teaching, but I'd been given head of school, and the role did not suit me. I'm not an administration person, right? Fine in the classroom, but I don't do reports. And I took that job because I was asked, which was great, and the money was great. But I really didn't explore it as to saying, was this the best job for me? So then I had to leave an environment which I loved and move into the corporate space. So that was a move that I made. That was probably my first move. And then when I got into the corporate space, I realized again that I wasn't clear on what I was looking for, where I best fit. I felt like a square peg in a round hole, and I was always trying to fit in. Um, and I worked in government. Then I moved to government, so I reset myself again. And then I moved. So I've had this continuous journey, but the biggest um, time where I had to really look at where am I going, what am I going to do, and what do I want is when I lost both my parents and my whole life sort of crumbled. And it was reinvention from a healing perspective. I had to, the timing of their passing was the time that I'd left one role and I was going into another role. And then I didn't go because of going through mum and dad's passing. And so then I had to sit there and think, well, here I am going through a grief process. Here am I trying to manage my family because they were young, trying to just survive quite a traumatic experience because they died suddenly together. So there was then, well, what do I do? I have to still work, but I just need to have an understanding of where I best fit. So that was probably the major where I really looked at what I wanted and where would I best fit and what could I offer to the role and was I looking for where there was alignment.
Yeah.
And so that to me, that probably was the first bit. But then there was continuous ones. As I said, it never stops.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's ongoing. Even lately, had I've left my recruiting company with my business partner and gone into coaching. So I had to reinvent and reposition and start again, really, and reset. So only in the recent year, 12 months, I've gone through another process of picking myself up, leaving what was good behind. It was good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't what I wanted. And so this is where I wanted to be. And when you, as you get older in life, your priorities change and what's important to you changes. And so there we go. There's another stage of reinvention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so many valid points in there. And for one, I'm sorry about the loss of your parents. I know that's got to be difficult. But we're always reinventing ourselves, right? I mean, you mentioned a few things like, being in jobs, and yes, it may pay really well. And I don't know how many people stay stuck with jobs just because it pays good, but they're really not happy.
Mm,
But you
yes.
you at least moved and transferred to something else. And so, like you said, as things change, you kind of keep reinventing yourself, which is you're living proof that that's okay to do that. You have to do that, I think.
Yeah, you have to. And I think that being a optimist and a hopeful one, I've always thought it must be better. I guess I can't go back, so I have
Right,
to,
right.
I have to keep moving forward. And I think that, and on my own journey and through the coaching I do, I realize that this transitional change or reinvention starts from two places: either the place of pain, which I've experienced, or the place of wanting more, the desire to be more or have more. And I've experienced both. So I know the recent reinvention was the desire to be more. But past I've had pain, which has caused me to really look at life and reflect.
Yeah. And that's, I think sometimes it's a difference between generations a little bit too, because in the older generations, normally when you got a job, you were taught to just kind of stick
Yes.
and work your way up the ladder and stay there. And I think we look at the younger generations, like what's wrong with them because they don't stay with a job. But
Yeah.
is it, really because they're bored, or because they're just reinventing, or because they just have not found, I mean, you're talking about, women in their mid career, but still
Yes.
really all ages. I think it kind of applies.
It does apply. And in the world of work is it's just changed so much. It's more disruptive. It's more demanding. It's more competitive. It's not a place. It's more focused. The scarcity aspect of the world of work is heightened. The abundance is not there anymore. So when you get scarcity thinking, you get a lot of challenge, you get a lot of stress. The job search is very different to what it used to be. We've got AI. And so when you're in your mid 40s, you've used to going through the process of looking for a job. Your career's just kind of happened, and
Hmm.
then suddenly you get to a point of usually around 45 where it's not happening anymore. And I've got competition coming up that's younger, more dynamic. Technology is they're digital native, so they just go boom, boom, boom. AI is coming, and what do I do? And it's the point of you either do nothing or you decide to do something, which is where I come in.
Yeah, and that's good because you bring up a valid point, and I know you work with women. That was something we experienced a little bit when we moved, because here we are in our 50s, and my fiance was looking for something else, and you go to apply for a job and everything is automated and it's all online. It's like, what happened to the, the meet and greet people? That's
So
just gone.
hi.
That's just gone. But when you're working with mid-career women, a lot of times they kind of feel held back. What are some of the invisible habits or beliefs that hold mid-career women back from being seen and valued, do you think?
I think the real issue sits around not really understanding how to promote themselves, the limiting beliefs that sit behind that, not really understanding the impact of that and how it has on them in regard to how others see them and perceive them. So it means lost job opportunities, it means less salary, it means being ignored, it means being missing out on promotions. There's a consequence of not positioning your value in a way where you come from a place of power rather than a place where you're, not sure, not confident. So those self-limiting beliefs that sit around self promotion are really quite prominent in women. We're
Mhm.
conditioned to behave in certain ways, and we're also nurturers, you know. So our greatest strengths can often take us to a place that don't serve us well when we're under pressure, and not recognizing those triggers can actually not serve us well. In the sense, I had a client who's a very caring, loving, works in corporate, always out looking after others, very focused on people. And in the commercial, she sits in a senior leadership and she struggles
Mhm.
with positioning her superpower. And so what she tends to do is overcompensate, and she ends up getting all the work, and she does it and gets no recognition for it. So those are the consequences of not really understanding who you are and standing in your power and saying, look, no, I'm not doing that, but I'll do this. And having those conversations and positioning, because that's the only thing you can control is how you are perceived by others. You're the one. That's it. Nobody else can control that. So that's the power you have to harness
Right.
within. And
So no,
then
yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, even though she does all this stuff, she shows up, she does the work, she's doing all this stuff. She is actually still invisible. She's not getting recognized for it at all. Just kind of like a
no,
doormat.
don't, yeah, very much so. And that's how she actually feels. That's the word she used actually. Doormat. I feel like a doormat. And she sits on a senior table with GMs and CEO, you know, and there are other women there too.
Hmm.
So it's not, you know, it's just how she feels and those self-limiting beliefs. And it slowly eats away at her confidence and belief.
Yeah.
And so inside she's churning, and outside she comes across as, you know, everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm okay.
I'm fine, but I'm not fine. Yeah. So how? What is some one thing? Or what is maybe one thing you would start to do to help someone get past that? I mean, not everybody can up and leave a job, which sometimes is the best thing to do. But if you can't, or you feel like you can't, how do you help someone to start break through with that so that they are not invisible anymore?
I think it's coming back to understanding and getting to know you and who you are and what you're all about, and realizing what your reality is. Because sometimes we create these stories that are maybe worse than they actually are. So I had a client, for example, recently who had built up a company with a co founder. It had been sold on the condition, you know, what she believed would be the same sort of culture and everything, but that didn't happen. And she had a very senior position, but was being the other director of the other company was sort of taking over, not bullying, but just asserting his authority.
Hmm.
And she started to really um, look, where am I going to go? I'm going to give this up. I'm not going to do this anymore. Da, da, da. And then she came on my course, and she went through a real big reflection of who she was, and her confidence in being able to articulate that really helped her. Because at the end of the course, she said, you know what? I'm actually happy here. I know how to deal with these challenges. This is my reality. But that reality is not the story I have now, because it's the story of I know how to handle it. I'm no longer afraid. I can confidently go into the meeting with this particular guy. And if I believe he needs to be challenged, I'm comfortable doing that. So why should I go? Because I love my job. So that's the
Right.
kind of work, is a sense of looking at what is your reality, what are the stories that you've created, and why can't you create new stories from a place of power,
Yeah.
from self-empowerment. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that takes a lot too, especially if you've been telling yourself that same old record for
Oh.
a really long time. Yeah.
And that's the other part that we look at is neuroscience and understanding how the brain operates, and how, you know, we have a brain that is there to protect us, but it only believes what we tell it. And if we're telling it things that aren't great for a
Yeah.
long time,
Oh, yeah, yeah, and we make it true, even if it's not. It's like you make it true because you keep repeating it.
yes.
Yeah. Can you share a personal experience where you felt invisible in your own career and how that shaped your coaching approach?
Um, I think back to when I left teaching, and I was um, had I decided to, yeah, I was having children. So I had my oldest son,
Hmm.
and I decided that I would. He was about 8 months, and then I decided, look, I'll get a job. I think it's time, you know. And so I went and applied for work, and I'd never really applied for jobs before, or and when I went into these interviews, I underestimated my value, and I ended up taking a job which took me back to administration. I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa. And the first day I walked in there, and that was the first time when I was told to go and sit at my desk, because I'm used to, teaching and being in command, or being in command and leading,
Right.
walking in and saying, come on. And I sat there at my desk and nobody said anything they said hello, but nobody just got on with their work. And I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And so for about 2 or 3 months, I really struggled. In fact, I got to the point where I really thought, nah, why am I doing this? I don't even like the job. I'm going to have to go. And then a friend of mine who I used to teach with um, popped up she'd got another job in another office a little bit down the road in the government office. And we bumped into each other. And she said, what are you doing? Where are you? I was like, I'm here. What? Why haven't you joined this? Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done this? And I thought, why haven't I? It was just because I just took on this whole thing of being invisible and just took up that story, really. And it wasn't until she challenged me and said, well, yeah, okay, the job's bad, but why don't you get out and join groups and become more visible? Because nobody knows you're here. I was like, okay. So that was probably the first time I was like, oh, okay.
So did you wind up staying there long or no?
Yeah, I did, but I moved on because then I moved into different roles, and I left that training coordinator role. Well, I don't know what, maybe I probably would have, but if Sonia hadn't have, because it was about 3 months, I've been there 3 or 4 months. And because I had a young baby, he was 8 or 9 months, and the creche was just across the road, so I could see him, and we were getting, because it was government, you get discount childcare. I was
Okay.
making up all these. Well, it's I can do this. I can
Yeah.
means that we can. And my husband worked, so we could go to work just up the road as well. So we could go to work together, drop Taylor off, and I could see him at the creche. I used to dress him in bright jumpers, so when I looked out, I could see them.
And
See.
can spot them easily.
So I kind of use that excuse of my reality to say, okay, I'll just keep being invisible. And then my very dear friend just said, like, what are you doing? I probably would have stayed actually, based on the fact that it suited our lifestyle rather than me.
Right. But that's the thing again, if you're doing stuff just to make ends meet or because you know it can work, but you're not truly happy, is that really benefiting you?
Well, that's true. Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
No. Now, I know a lot of times we've been saying reinventing, but I know a lot of times often you say refining rather than reinventing. So what would that actually look like in practice?
I think that the other word I use is rediscover, because I think we
Okay.
already know who we are. It's just that we've lost it. So reinvention is about becoming this new kind of thing. But I think it becomes more um, rediscovering the potential of what you have and then shaping it into something new. But you always know, and that's one of my coaching, I always know one of my superpowers is I can see potential. So I know where that person can go. I just need to help them discover it and bring it out, because we all have our own innate understanding of ourselves, but we just layer it with lots of confused messages.
Depending on upbringings, right?
Oh,
Background,
yeah, there's a
whatever
whole
else
lot
you've
of,
been through. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of things that go on around that. But yeah, it's very. yeah, it's more that rediscover and then recreate, which is the theme of reinvention anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that's always so important too, because like I said, you know, you play all those old broken records. You're there. Just sometimes you'll lose who it is after all of that.
Well, you do, and it becomes your story, right? You create
Yeah.
these stories, and that becomes your truth, and you just. But inside, there is a little voice that's going, I don't think so. This is not. This is
And
not right.
sometimes it takes that friend to say, "Hey,
Where
we can
are
pick
you?
you up and say, what are you doing?" Yeah. Well, I know we have a lot of people that are watching and a lot of people that often feel stuck, and we are going to go over about some initial steps that they can take from being stuck. But we're going to take a quick break from a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Okay.
Relief for PTSD, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and many other ailments. Introducing Vibe, the world's only pocket PEMF device. You place in your pocket while cooking, cleaning, relaxing, watching TV, sitting at your computer, reading, or walking. Self-contained standalone device. No drugs. No other phone or Bluetooth connections required. No monthly subscription fees. No apps to download. No Bozone. The future of medicine is in the frequencies. Come join the revolution.
Hi, I'm Bobby Aldridge with BAM Metrics. There are so many programs out there that measure your swing speed, sets, reps, your BMI, your body fat, but the one thing they're not measuring that's so essential is mobility. Mobility is the key. If you're measuring your mobility, your performance will get better and you will reduce your pain. I created BAM Metrics to make it easy for people to repeat the exercises so they could do it properly at home on their own. It's simple, it's easy to do, and from a senior to a pro athlete.
So, Kathryn, you work a lot with the people that are in their mid 40s, 50s, and 60s. Is that when you feel that they mostly feel stuck, or is there a particular reason why you chose to do mid career?
It came initially through my work as a recruiter, my recruitment company, and I ended up interviewing and working with a lot of senior execs, women and men. And I noticed this pattern around the 40-ish, 45-ish, mid 45, that there would be a point I call a crossroad. So that they'd actually use the word crossroad. I'm at a crossroad. I'm not sure what I should do, where I should go, what's in the future for me. And they struggled, and ended up coaching them, which is kind of because I used to be a coach anyway. So I kind of started this coaching where I'd say, well, let's work through how you can move past that. So if you want a new role or you're being made redundant, you actually have a plan and a strategy in place. Because research has shown, I think it was Harvard, one of the universities said that about if you're in the 45 plus and you're in the management level, you're at 48% chance of being made redundant or losing your job or being restructured out, because there's two things. You can lose your job or you suffer from stress and burnout because you're picking up the resources that have been and you're required to do more. So you just keep picking up more work. So you either have burnout, you lose your job.
Mhm.
So understanding that dynamic of work and where you fit best as you go older. And I just started thinking, well, working with a few people, senior execs, and then I realized that actually this is hearing these stories all the time. And then when they go for interviews, they're so used to being apply for a job on a job board, go to Seek, or they get tapped on the shoulder. It wasn't happening anymore. So they became this person of sort of, what am I going to do now? So that's where it really started. And when it kept, the same story kept coming up when I was meeting with these candidates and clients, even clients, so I just started working with them, developed an online program around personal branding and visibility, and used that as a baseline to coach them. So that was the kind of how it started. And then my own story too, because I was like, look, I've had
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. So for those who feel stuck, what initial steps can they take to start refining their personal brand? What would you suggest?
well, I think it's, the personal brand is a word that's thrown around and it's becoming more and more popular today, everybody, personal brand. And really, your personal brand is your visibility. It's like you've got to step out, right? You've got to be
Mhm.
visible. And I think that a lot of us really don't understand what being visible means for us. And so I think the first step is to really look at doing some work on self and awareness and understanding who you are. Sort of like let's create a picture of who I am right now. What's the good? What's not so good? And what am I going to choose to do about this? And the next step is understanding it's a journey. So you don't finish it, you actually keep refining it. But the start of the journey is getting clarity about you and who you are, what you're about, what do you really want, what are some of the challenges that you are going to have to face, your own challenges, like overcoming self-limiting beliefs, overcoming not really understanding the triggers that set you off in a certain way of self-sabotage, working with all of those. And it's developing a fitness muscle of visibility. So it's like getting fit, right? If you want to
Right.
be visible, or if you want to be fit at 7, 60, 50, whatever it is, you actually have to start now. And then you just keep, I call it developing your visibility muscle. So it's like going to a trainer. It's just, you just keep doing it step by step. I call it the 1% improvement or the 1% challenge. So one of the things I work with my clients is about the 1%, just do a 1%. So one client of mine had a lot of self-esteem around her weight. So I said, just deal with that. Don't just look at that. Do 1%. What are you going to do today? And what's the 1%? So we just set 1% goals. And she ended up losing 15 kg going to the gym. And then her visibility became more real to her because she had worked on self and her confidence started to grow because she'd actually taken action. So she was ready for becoming more visible and she just, yeah, took off. But had she tried to do it without working on herself, she was going to get someone to do a LinkedIn profile and write. And I said, don't, you've got to write your own story. Don't get anybody else to write your story for you. Get them to clear it up, but don't tell them to write your story.
Yeah. And then I think that's an important part too, is them discovering who they are. And, because really
Yes.
you are your brand. It's not, a lot of people think brand, it's whatever the catchiest phase and fad is. And it's like, if that doesn't align with who you are, what you stand for, then that's not your brand. But then, like you said, you got to be consistent in promoting yourself. And since you brought up LinkedIn, I have to ask you, so what does a personal brand really mean, especially for women? Think it's just self promotion or posting on LinkedIn? I
I know
mean,
it's more than that. It's showing up in a room. I call it unapologetic and unstoppable. It's just like showing up and being really comfortable with it. People say to me, "Oh, you make it so easy." I said, "Oh no, it's taken years." It's about showing up and really understanding what's important to you. What is it that you want? Do you want to hide away? Do you want to ignore the opportunities that the world is giving you right now, no matter what age you are? There's always opportunity. So LinkedIn is the reality of the world we live in, right? And if you're in a
mhm.
professional career or own a business, everyone goes to LinkedIn. And as a recruiter, I know this. I go to LinkedIn. If I see a CV like I did the other day, I'll go to LinkedIn first before I read the CV.
Okay, so just so our audience knows, what is CV?
Oh, resume. Sorry.
Okay. That's okay. We're all guilty. I've been on other people's podcasts where I used one. They're like, she goes, you're military, because we all have our acronyms and our names for stuff, but not everybody knows.
Curriculum vitae. That's,
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so
yeah,
resume.
resume.
Okay. Oh, so that brings up another point, though. So you got people going between invisible and they're going to being in demand. How do you help them to be authentic and express their value without feeling like they're boasting?
Well, that's a conditioning that we've all been subjected to. It's a rule that we all have, a belief that we all have, and particularly as women, men as well. What we don't really need to flip the switch and make it a more positive growth mindset thinking, which is abundance. It's about positioning your value so that you can serve others. That's all you're doing. You're just saying, hey, I can do this, and this is what I can add to this situation to make it better. Are you interested? Or this may not be my thing, but I do know someone who would be better at it. Would you, are you open to me introducing you to them? So you're positioning who you are in a way that you're serving them. So a lot of people think personal brand or visibility is about you. Yes, in some ways,
Hmm.
but your connection with others and how you serve them is the key to visibility, because it's how you make people feel. And Maya Angelou has that. I'm not sure whether you know the quote where she says, I'm not going to say it perfectly, but it's essentially it is, people won't forget what you say. People will forget what you say. People will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you make them feel.
Yeah.
So if you're making them feel the way that they feel, and they build trust and credibility in you because you make them feel good, that's not bragging. So
Yeah.
that's the flip. That's the scarcity mindset, is no, it's promoting and da 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 da. No, it's not. It's actually the growth mindset of serving others, because you're creating a presence. And visibility is about presence, because what we don't, and even in we as humans, we feel energy. It's like you and I would have felt energy, and
Hmm.
that's presence. And how I show up is, presence. My presence is how I
Right.
show up. So that's the visibility, that's the intangible part, that's the alignment that you have to work on, is energetically, how do I want to show up? Because that's what people feel within a few seconds. And
Yeah.
that's what the audience will be feeling of you and I watching. They'll be feeling the energy of it. And then they'll start to listen to what we're saying and, listen and engage. But the first port of call, or the first point, is that energetic presence and knowing what that is.
So there's a lot of mindset work that goes in with your
Huge
coaching, I
one.
would imagine. Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. But
What
once
role
you
would
get it,
what role
oh,
would you say the mindset plays in the process of building that?
oh, 80%. And then the 20%. Hang on, no. Let's drop it back about. It's probably around, yeah, 80%. It's 80%. 10% is application and commitment to applying the principles that you
Mhm.
so determine. And the 4%, 5%, somewhere around there, is the tools, the visibility tools for you to position those, such as LinkedIn, your CV, going to interview, whatever it is that you decide are your key visibility tools. LinkedIn would be one of the major ones, or Instagram, you know, Facebook, whatever it is. But if you're in a career, LinkedIn, without a doubt, is your key tool for
Yeah,
visibility.
it's everybody has different opinions, but for most people that I've talked to, they consider LinkedIn to be the most professional
It is.
and to be, yeah. So, not to say that there's not going to be more platforms or other things, or other people don't make other platforms work. They do. Do you generally work with clients for across like all different platforms, or is your domain focus for LinkedIn?
No, my main focus is on LinkedIn, because that's the clientele that I work with, is mainly professionals. And so if they're not on LinkedIn, I help them get on LinkedIn.
I've had people that think that alignable is, is the way to go, and there's always, always more and more coming up, but you can get lost down those rabbit holes too, trying to go
Oh,
down too many.
yeah, I just say stick to your lane. I'm not on, well, I am on Instagram, but I think that there's just so much stuff that we have to choose,
Mhm.
that it's so much noise, and it just gets, and if we're not, in the age as we get older, we're not so intuitive around digital online stuff. It takes an effort for us to do it. And so, I look at my children, and they're what, 30 something, but they're, got their phones in and that. And then I look at my grandchildren, like, oh my God, they're just like, woof. And so, it takes effort for us to sort of step into that space. But once we do, it opens you up. But I think you just need to just focus on the lane you want to be in, and just
Yeah,
stay in that lane.
I've been with plenties, and you go in this coach, and this one does this one, and then this one does that one, and it's like, you're trying to follow all of this, and it's like, oh my God, and then you just in overwhelm, and there's another kind of burnout, right?
Oh, that's burnout. Yeah, that's noise burnout, man. It's just too much decision and choice. And so
Yeah.
then you just progress, right? Once you get one lane sorted, then you're kind of comfortable to go into Instagram, or, into the next, those platforms, if you want to go into TikTok. I mean, I get exhausted by TikTok. It's just like, oh my God.
I,
I
I have,
just,
I have yet. I had like created one, but I'm like, yeah, I can't. I
it's
just
just
can't do
too
it.
much. I
I can't
don't
do it.
really want to know what wedding dress I kind of like, oh, the argument I had with my husband over what toy we should, I was just like, I don't need to know this.
I don't want to know. So we were talking about, the mindset is really important. Like you said, it's 80%. And we have a lot of people when that they're stuck, like you said, they have outdated stories that are no longer serving them. So what are maybe some tips and techniques or something that you can maybe share with our audience of how they can start to shift those outdated stories?
Well, one of the best things, very simple technique that seems to work, and I was one that I use myself and I share in my coaching when we start off, is that to write on a balloon all the things, self-limiting beliefs that hold you back, and then let the balloon go. Or there's that one, or you write them everything down on a piece of paper, 2 pieces, 3, and then you burn it, let it go. So it's all about letting go and understanding. And those 2 exercises, all my clients go, that was the best ever.
Yeah, it seems so simple or kind of weird, but I guess in a way, like you said, it's releasing it.
It's releasing it, and it's letting it go. And I said, when people say, "Oh, let it go," you actually have to take an act of letting go, and that's probably one of the easiest ways you could do. And so you can do it all the time. I mean, when you're sort of feeling that you're self-doubt, is you just write on a piece of paper, or you can just rip it up, but write everything down and then just rip it up and put it in the bin. One of my clients set fire to it, but she was running around because she put it in the rubbish bin, but she forgot there were other pieces of paper in there.
Whoops, I was to say, yeah, we don't want anyone burning their house down
Oh,
over the tips.
don't do that. Um, and that's really an important piece. The next piece is activity, is being active physically, and looking at ways to mobilize yourself. And that mobility, the sponsor for that, I thought, yep, its mobility is very important. So staying static does not create energy, and we need energy. So we actually have to commit to some form of activity. Walking, strength building is really important. So the 4 elements of mind, body, soul, and socialization are the key things that we should start working on. So we do a little exercises, within my mind, what am I working on? Within my spirituality, whatever that is, it can be whatever you determine it to be. What am I working on? Within my physical, what am I working on? What am I committed to doing? And within my social connections, what activities I'm doing. And so they go through the 4 elements and tick them off, so that they understand that you just can't become visible by doing one thing. It's actually
Right. No, it's a number of things and it takes time and consistency. But
Oh, the other one thing that I would also like to add is having a conversation about understanding the danger of your comfort zone. Because what we're trying to do is retrain our brain to see, because what it does is try to protect us. And
mhm,
it likes comfort because it's certainty, right?
right.
And anything uncertain is dangerous. So what we'll do is keep reconfirming, oh, stay there. You will start having excuses. Whatever happens, it's too late. I can't do it. Too old. Whatever it is. But that nothing's going to happen in that space. So part of that journey is really looking at the only way I'm going to get what I want in life is by being uncomfortable. That there's no other option. I can't. If I stay here, the same happens. If I step out, different things happen, which will be great. And it's these
Yeah.
conversations that you have with each other, with yourself, and
Yeah.
understand
That's a
them,
saying I think a lot of people will tell you is, do the uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable. But,
and
you
then
know,
keep doing more uncomfortable.
yeah, you keep going, but you go a little bit at a time. I think sometimes people try to
Oh
go like
yes.
way too uncomfortable,
Oh
and
yeah.
then they just wind up stopping and then going in the
Too
opposite
much.
direction. So you got to find the balance, right?
Oh, well, that's the 1%, you see.
Yeah,
1% increments are the best way to achieve any goal. So there's a book called The 1% Challenge where you just follow it through. And it works the best because you're just doing it one day, one step,
and it
one day.
doesn't seem so overwhelming, right?
No.
Yeah,
Instead of focusing on losing, 200, well, not 200, but, 20 kilos, you just focus on losing 100 or 50 grams. Well, I don't know what it is in pounds, or I don't know, because we use kilos and grams, so I don't know what it is. But, it's that kind of breaking it down into little wee steps.
yeah. And you talk about mindset, and I had someone else call me out on that one time because I said, I had lost it. Did they really? You lost 31 pounds? Are you trying to find it? No. Then you have released 31 pounds. I was like, you're right. I have released it because I have no desire to
It's
find
a
it
beautiful
again.
way. I'm going to use that. Is that okay if I
Yeah,
use it?
absolutely. I think more of us should
Release.
use release. I'm like,
Oh, I love that.
I can see it now. Someone will start creating weight release programs. I'm like, yeah, because I'm like, but you think about it, it makes sense.
Oh,
If
I
you
got
someone
it.
tells you you lost something, the first thing your brain goes to is how do I find it? And I'm like, I
Yes.
don't want to find it.
And then it comes back on again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is powerful. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Oh, you
All right.
bet. So, but tell me, so what is one of the greatest success stories or one of your clients that you've seen happen with the change from helping them get unstuck and
Oh,
emerging?
well, check out my LinkedIn profile. Um, my recommendations. I use my clients to recommend me. I just
Uh-huh.
don't. They would do. Um, each one of them has had a very different experience, but I think the clearest, the message that I keep getting from all of them is just that clarity of who they are. Just, and therefore from there they build on the focus, and then they have the confidence. And at the beginning I say just trust the process, because what we try to do as adults is define what the end looks like. Like, will
Mhm.
you give me a job? Will you do? I was like, okay, I'm not going to promise you that. I'm not going to guarantee that. But what I guarantee is that at the end of the program, you will be far removed from where you started. You will never go back to that place unless you so choose. So you'll never be at a crossroads. You'll always know and always recognize what you need to do to move forward. And you'll have the tools and strategies if you keep working on it.
Right.
I just show a pathway. And so for many of the people I've worked with, they've found it really hard to trust themselves and the process. They'll go, because the first part of the work we do, the self-reflection piece, is quite confronting, because you have to really, and I'll go back to them, they'll review their work, and I'll go, that's a teacher in me. I go, nah, you've rushed it. You need to get deeper. And they'll go, how do you know? And I say, because the language you're using is superficial. If you were really into where you were as a child and the amazing things that you were doing as a child, you would be creating that in energy in the language you use. and all I get is nothing, no energy. So it tells me that you're just writing it down.
Probably would have been a lot more detailed too.
Yeah, and it would have been more expressive and colourful in language. Oh, they go, oh, okay, and then they go that, and then the other one is part of the exercises as they move forward into looking at their skills, their strategy, their strengths, and that is understanding what other people think about them. So they have to go and ask people. That's confronting. And there's a specific questionnaire that they actually have to ask people,
Okay.
and that for many is quite confronting. So all these challenges, and then there's the video challenge, then there's the presentation challenge, then there's the share. So there's always where you're actually constantly in the program having to show up because we work in small groups.
And adding a little bit to the steps each time.
And then there's, salary negotiation, and we all go in there because one of my clients, she got a job offer,
Mm-hmm.
and she came to the group and she said, they're offering me less. And we went, oh, no, but I really need a job. I said, no, stop.
Yeah, but yeah, there's the but. Yeah, no buts.
I said, let's work on this. And so I worked with her around negotiating and using anchoring and positioning her value, and we worked on it. And she went back and recounted the offer and put in her little bit. Yep, they got the offer. They went, yep, sure. She goes,
So you work with the mid-career women, but are you working with them that are entrepreneurs or just
yes,
working in corporate or both?
both,
Okay.
both. Yeah, people just arrive. Like I was like, okay, I've got a young, years ago, maybe about 8 years ago, I still do it actually. I mentor for women at the business school, Auckland Business School, University Business School,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on a women's graduate program. And I had this mentee who, 10 years ago. Anyway, she came back to me the other day. She's about mid-30s, but going through who am I? Very, very capable, very capable. But she's going through this issue of who am I? I don't know where I am. I don't know my value. I'm stuck, blah, blah, blah. And so she's joined the program. I said, oh, we might be. Oh, she said, oh, no, no. This is what I need. I need someone. I need this guidance. So it's interesting. I think those who are we all go through the same questions about ourselves, but we're just in different years, and it means different things, but it's the same. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. So, what lasting impact do you hope your work will have on the landscape for mid-career women in the workforce?
That women will really understand their power and potential of walking into the room and just being unstoppable and unapologetic and lead with influence. And I just think that it is important for us to role model that for the legacy of who we are and who is coming behind us. And as my daughter and my granddaughters, I want them to see a grandmother, a mother who lives life to the fullest and is, negotiates and deals with these challenges, but is on that continuous learning of understanding self and where I sit in this world and how I want to be. And it's so freeing because it's just
Well, and you said you just had someone that was like what, their mid-30s. I mean, do you think it's possible you will be seeing people that are even younger that
well,
already
that's
feel
what I
lost?
said to her. Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more evident um, that this, because in that age, and knowing from my mentoring of the graduates, the conditioning of how they're meant to be. Because I think back to my university days, man, we had fun. I used to say C's get degrees. And oh gosh, but now it's very well. It costs a lot more. We didn't have to pay for our education. We were lucky. It costs a lot more, so there's more financial gain or commitment, and debt to carry. Plus, there's the pressure of getting a job and pressure of getting A's. I mean, the more the A's you get, the more likely you know. So there's a whole set of pressures that um, they face. Whereas we had a lot more freedom. It was just different, and we didn't have these pressures. And I think that that's what's happening at the moment. I've noticed anxiety levels are a lot higher, escalating
Mhm.
in young women in careers. That's what I'm experiencing with my mentoring at the moment. Is they're dealing with these young ones who've got anxiety around their grades or how they look, or I'm going, gosh, all I had was a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. Levi's was my thing.
Yeah, yeah,
But so I think in answer to your question, I think yes, I think that there's going to be more um, women and men coming to me now because it's when they get to that point of what do I do, who am I,
yeah.
and where do I want to go, what's my future look like. Very
Yeah, because
hard.
I've noticed even more young people seem to be kind of feeling stuck or where they want to do this, but maybe because of other pressures, they feel pulled to do this and they're kind of in their own stuck. But
Yes, very much so. Different stucks,
yeah,
same but different.
yeah. So, Catherine, we got about 2 minutes left.
Oh, that went fast.
I know, didn't it? What do you want to leave the audience with today? What's the most important thing you want to know?
I think that the just to take that reflection piece of, if you're feeling the crossroads, I call it the crossroads of disquiet, is to spend some time reflecting and then ask yourself two questions. Who do I want to be? Oh, three actually. Who do I want to be? Where do I want to be? And how am I going to get there? And then commit. It's the commitment and be accountable for your journey.
Yeah, and like you said, ask yourself. It's not asking someone else because
Ask yourself.
only you can make that
You.
decision.
Only you can do it.
Yeah,
I think that when you answer those three important questions and you commit, that journey starts.
yeah. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you've been through your several reinvention and redefining, rediscovering.
That's it.
You name it.
Re.
Yeah, we're all recreating. But yes, and it's always good when someone can relate to what we're going through or being stuck. So I am glad you are there and helping people because I think we have way too many people that are feeling stuck in their position and where they're at. So thank you so much for coming on and joining and us sharing your journey and your
Oh,
tips.
my pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. And if anybody wants to touch base or connect, through my LinkedIn, just connect through there, leave a message, and I will get back to you because that's one thing I do.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I know. It's been a pleasure. It just went so fast. Gosh.
It can do that. It can do
Yeah.
that.
Well, I
So,
really enjoyed it. Thank you. Great questions too, by the
oh,
way.
thank
Fabulous.
you. I appreciate you. Yeah, because like I said, so many people are stuck, and I just want to make sure people know it's not just for entrepreneurs. It's not just for corporate because you can be
Anyway,
stuck in any frame. But having someone that's been there that can help walk through the steps, have those aha clarity moments is just huge.
yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And everybody, we're hoping that you can also go from invisible to in demand. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.